Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have guitarist Dave Granati from the Granati Brothers.
How you doing, man?
Feeling like I'll never do enough for you. If you think you can find something better, if you think you can find something better, you don't realize, baby, what you got. Gonna lose everything we got together. Oh yeah,
I'd like to start out with what age did you start playing guitar and what got you into playing guitar?
Age 12, and I sneaked into the local drive-in and saw Woodstock and forget about it. I wanted to learn Santana and Alvin Lee and The Who. Still do.
Now, those were kind of like your influences at the beginning with Santana.
Yeah, Santana particularly has a lot to do with my teaching career. I was studying with a guy, in those days it was Bell Bay. I don't know if any of you guys know what that, before Tab and chord charts and internet. You had to go to like an old guy that hated rock and roll, and I found him, and I wanted to learn a Santana song, and he was like, "Oh, you're not ready for that yet." So I did what you did in those days. I asked an older kid in the neighborhood, he showed me an A minor chord. I wanted to play Soul Sacrifice. It was the song that Michael Shreve did that wonderful drum solo on. I met him, by the way, at Woodstock, but that's it later. Anyway, he showed me the A minor chord, and it was like God came and sat on my windowsill. It's like, oh my God, it's so cool. Then I discovered if you moved it down 2 frets, it was you got to change your evil ways. So, like the Brian Adams song, I played till my finger literally like this part of the bar finger, and it was all red and raw. So I go in for my Mel Bay lesson, and I think I botched Little Brown Jug or Yankee Doodle, whatever I was supposed to play that week. And he got really mad. He said, "Did you even play your guitar this week?" And I said, "Yeah, I learned that Santana song." So he goes grudgingly, he says, "Well, play it for me." So I played it. Now, mind you, I'm playing a month at that point. That's pretty impressive to play a bar chord and well. And instead of what I wished he would have said was like, "Man, that's really good. Why don't you do that and what I'm showing you?" But he said, "You have a bad attitude. You should hang it up." He told me to quit. And yeah, so if I'd only listened to that guy, I would probably be a millionaire today. But anyway, that's greatly influenced. I've never refused a beginner student ever since then. And so that's a big part of what I do now with for those about to Rock Academy. A lot of them are beginners, and I keep in mind how I felt in those days. It's all about encouragement. Do you play guitar? Yeah. See, there's that physical curve at the beginning that you usually don't have. Like with piano, you hit the sustain pedal, or worse, you hit the cymbal on the drums and it rings forever. Guitar, remember the first time you tried playing F chord? Yeah. So you need constant, excuse me, constant, you know, you need to be encouraged. And so I find out my first lesson is typically the beginning of Crazy Train. Yeah, that's how they learn quarter notes. I. And then the eighth notes, one and da 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 da, one and two and three and four and one and two and three. So they're learning theory and they're learning a song, and they walk out by the end of a half hour and they know a song, and they've learned some of the basic elements of music theory, and they eat it up like lap it up like a puppy dog.
Now, for those about the Rock Academy, how did you get that started?
There's a wonderful school here in Beaver County called Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center. And I got in on the ground floor, started their guitar program. It was right after School of Rock had come out, and they wanted to try something like that. So one of the directors saw me running a jam night, all ages, and there was a kid that was really scared to go on stage, and I was over there giving him the pep talk and making him laugh. And she came up and she said, "You're exactly what we're looking for." So we did it. That's how I got the job there. We did it as a summer program. We had 28 kids sign up. And by contrast, there was a guy from the Pittsburgh Symphony, one of the finer violinists in the world, and 3 people signed up. And it just, the writing's on the wall. Guitar was so popular. So we had a whole guitar department. And it was a really good recruiting thing because it's an alternative to public education. So if you qualify, instead of going to your high school, you go to Lincoln Park and study with me. Anyway, we did that for a couple of years. They lost some of their funding, so I elected to try it here at my studio. But you can see, look at that bevy of beauties back there. Rickenbacker, 73 Strat. So and we're going on our 15th or 16th year now. And we do it here 4 times a year.
And how long is usually the program when you start? Is it like a couple months or?
No, it's like an 8-week program. We'll do 8 Sundays in a row, 3-hour classes. And during that time, they learn all the essentials, how to tune, some ear training, how to choke the drummer, how to get the bass player to pick up his cell phone when he's at his girlfriend's instead of practice. You've done that. You know what I'm talking about. No, but truthfully, there's boys and girls, all styles, different instruments, singing and playing together. It's really good on a social level too, because at that age, you got a lot of questions about, especially nowadays, about your sexuality, amongst other things, and it's a real safe haven where they can just interact with other kids and members of the opposite sex. A lot of lifelong friendships have formed out of some of my earlier classes. A lot of bands have formed. It's just a really good networking thing, and it keeps me young. They're turning me on all this new music, and especially they're teaching me all about stuff like what we just did to get the camera to come up. That's usually something I have this kid, Michael Titus. He's 10 years old. He does his own webcast, and he's excellent with this kind of stuff. So I'm going to have to tell him, I wish you would have been there last night.
How do we get in contact with if somebody wants to join your academy? How do they get in contact with you?
Facebook is the easiest and most prominent. We have a Facebook for those about to Rock Academy, and mine is Facebook David Granati. Pretty much everything I do, and then I have one for Maplewood Studio, which is where we do this. Typically, if you look up my name, you'll find all my stuff from my Facebook page, and I'm always putting pictures on. More often than not, I'm putting pictures of the food that I'm serving for that particular class. That's actually a big part of what we do here at Maplewood.
How did you and your brothers form G-Force?
Well, I'm the youngest, so as far as I can remember, I have 3 older brothers, and 2 of them play piano, so I have issues. And they both have perfect pitch. So, yeah. You can tell if somebody has perfect pitch. Don't worry, they'll let you know. So anyway, Joey was Hermie he was a prodigy from the time he was a young kid. He started playing at 4 by ear. He'd imitate my mom was taking piano lessons. So he's primarily by ear. And then Joey took classical college level training when he was still in grade school. So they were both prodigies. And I wanted to be a basketball player, and it wasn't until I realized that when you're 5'5" Italian, you're probably not going to have a career in basketball. So I was kind of somewhat of a late bloomer as far as picking up the instrument. But as soon as I did, we started playing together, and I was still like probably 15, 16. We were playing 4 nights a week, and that's back when there were so many gigs in those days. And we had a girl that cut our hair that had Melody Maker and all these great British magazines. I was like, make me look like Jeff Beck, which he did. And she started dating a gentleman named Ray Schulman. He was in a band called Gentle Giant. He and his brother, fairly popular band, progressive, kind of like along the lines of Genesis and King Crimson. Not as popular, but they had a pretty good rep worldwide. So they took an interest in us and signed us. So I was still playing gigs and going to high school, and got to work with these famous British guys. So I'm very, very blessed. And that's how we just kind of grew into it. And things happened really fast for us. By the time I was 20, we were on tour with Van Halen. And I had a record out and, brushing elbows with the stars.
It's only the sun in your eyes. I know what you're feeling in the sun. It's only the sun. Realize that I won't stop believing. Don't be surprised what you see. Soon realize it's not me. 'Cause I never wanted to hold you back.
How did that tour happen? Did they reach out to your management, or how did that happen?
The one brother was more in production, Raymond. His brother, Derek, was on the business side. And we had a gig at a place called Maury's Speakeasy that we used to pack this place. We'd get 500 people in there every week. So he invited 3 different record labels, one of them being A&M, who signed us. But the most important, he invited Frank Barcelona, the head of Premier Talent. And if you read Hammer of the Gods or In and Out, Up and Down with the Rolling Stone, any of them, he's the top booking agent in the world, Premier out of New York. And he came to our house, ate spaghetti, signed us that night. And that was our strongest suit, is our live show. And he put us out with a number of bands, including Van Halen. And that's how we got those tours. But you read in any of those books, you see Frank Barcelona's name. And he was there sitting right beside my dad telling jokes and eating sausage and meatballs. It's one of them insider Italian deals. It was so funny because my dad was quite a joke teller. At one point he said, guys, I hate to beg it to you, I think I want to sign your dad instead of you.
Now, when you were on tour with Van Halen, did Eddie ever show you any guitar tricks or anything like that?
He did indeed. Yeah, there was one time in particular in Huntsville, Alabama. We were staying at the same hotel, and he saw me in the bar, and he went, hey, dude, man, you want to hang out? Yeah, I guess. And he went, don't say anything to your brothers, man, just you and me. And I was like, hey, man, because you get 4 Granatis in a room, and with some of the activities of that day, of that era, it's pretty hard to get a word in. And we just hung out for a while, talked about all kinds of stuff, talked about Kung Fu, because we were both very well into Kung Fu. And I remember him saying, you know what nobody gets when they do the tap? Everybody just kind of... And he said, you got to hit it with your right hand, and it's got to sound as though you picked it and you were fretting it with your left hand. And he said, because when you do that, then when you pull off, You know what I mean? You're sounding the notes out, which he does, you know, like some of the times when he does that lazy tap, which is the baddest of all. Yeah, he's really pressing hard on that neck. And he just offered that up to me. But then he went, well, dude, don't tap though, man. Everybody tries to sound like me. That's why we got rid of all them bands that opened for us. Said you guys were the first guys that came and kicked the crowd's ass without trying to be like us. So, but that was straight from the horse's mouth. I got to play the red and white Strat, and he played. Yeah, I had an old guitar. It's a Baldwin, kind of made by Gretsch Baldwin. Very rare, like a rockabilly guitar. I used to open the show with. Real crowd pleaser, especially in the South. He was like, "What's that one guitar you play, man? Let me play that thing." They went, "Hey, man, you want to play mine?" So you know what I remember about that guitar more than anything? I put it on. I was like, he went, "Yeah, Val's been kind of getting on me about that." He had leather strap that he wore on bearskin, and you know, like if you play hockey or golf gloves or knee pads, you know, they get that mildew, that horrible smell. It was horrible. And I'm trying to play this famous guitar. It was like, oh dear Lord. And it was now everybody's seen close-ups of it and stuff, but it was routed out for 3 pickups, and it was only 1 pickup, and he had a big glob of solder, and he had the U.S. quarter underneath the bridge that he used as a. It was like real nuts and bolts, but man, the sound it played like nobody's business. I remember it being very light. Kind of. Have you ever played like some really like the 50s ultra vintage Fender guitars? They're really light. Yeah, what I found, Gibson, just as a general rule, the heavier the better, and Fender, the lighter the better, unless it's a Telecaster, which I finally got a Telecaster. My girlfriend bought me last year, and we have a little joke about it. I think she wanted me to play country, and she's wise enough not to mention it, so she gets me a Telecaster. It's like, I'm having a ball with it, doing a lot of finger picking and chicken picking, and yeah, I love it now as much as I ever have. We get up in the morning, man. We do our morning ritual, lemon water, and we pray and thankful for that. I sleep in my studio like 6 days a week. I'm supposed to live in a house that just sits empty, and we wake up and there's all these guitars, and it's wonderful. Really blessed.
How was it being in a band with all your brothers? Was there lots of fights or anything like that?
God, yes. I've been really tempted to try to get a hold of Barry Gibb. Have you seen the Bee Gees documentary on HBO? Yeah. Oh, it's fabulous. Really, really good. And there were so many things familiar. I was just going to try to write him a little handwritten. Hey, we got the fights. We fight to start, so we're not going to end up fighting because, at one point they didn't play together anymore. I think he would love us, But it's just, it's so familiar. Brothers bands are always fighting. But in the end, nobody's going to have your back more than your brother. But that's that's one of our greatest successes is the fact we love each other now more than we ever have. When we play now, it's a celebration of life, and everybody gets there. It's people hugging, and it's way beyond rock and roll. Now they're bringing, well, they used to bring their kids. Now they're bringing their grandchildren. I remember, hey, my mom used to follow you guys now. My grandmother said she was your biggest fan. I was like, dude, don't say that too loud. But yeah, because you know how many famous brothers don't speak, like the Everly Brothers and with the Black Crows, although I think they kind of patched things up. Yeah, their new stuff's nice. But man, Oasis, I think they might be the worst. Uh, just hate each other. The Kinks, a couple of the Jacksons. So to me, that would have been my ancestors would roll over in their grave if that happened. Like if we didn't speak. And but yeah, so there were some pressures of being all brothers like that. And I think that the advantages greatly outweigh, any disadvantage.
Now, you guys are still playing out. Is there any dates coming up we should know about?
Oh yeah, is that why I wrote those in that calendar? Okay. Every move I make is carefully planned, like Inspector Clouseau. Okay, we have a couple shows with Donnie Iris, which are wonderful. Um, we just did one, in fact. Okay. We're playing the Butler Italian Festival, where our message is best heard. Yeah, we've done a couple of Italian festivals. We're probably going to do the Bloomfield one. We're doing a really cool show next week at Mr. Small's Fun House, which is owned by the Rusted Root people. And it's Millville Days, and it's like a lot of Pittsburgh's finest. And then the best one, though, we have a show in our hometown of Beaver Falls. Joe Namath's high school football coach is a gentleman named Larry Bruno, who's been renowned as like one of the best high school football coaches of all time. And they have his name's Larry Bruno, and they have the Larry Bruno Society. They do a lot of charity stuff and civic things. We're being inducted and becoming members of the society, which includes getting a document from Joe Namath. Joe's coming in, and he's going to present us with the award. That's going to be pretty far out.
What date is that happening?
I think September 19th. Yeah, they're finalizing, and if all goes well, we're going to do a free concert. See, what it is, they've been working out of office space. Now they have a dedicated building that they're going to unleash, and there's a big mural being painted on the side. And it's basically just a grand opening of the facility. And it's just kind of like a museum. They got all kind of artifacts. And Joe Willie's coming in, and that's going to be quite a thrill because that's our hometown. And, of course, that's where he came from. And we're supposed to do a free concert out in the street. So that should be one of my favorite gigs ever. We played Reeves Stadium where he played football. We've done a couple of shows there. It's just, man, you're thinking about all the legends. I saw Tony Dorsett play there. I'll never forget that. He took the opening kickoff and ran for a touchdown. And it was 3-and-out for Beaver Falls. They got the ball, Hopewell, and the first play from scrimmage, he ran a touchdown. So the first two times he touched the football, he scored a touchdown. So, I mean, just to play, that's one thing I'm really grateful for. I've gotten to play a number of like famous venues. A few in Pittsburgh that aren't there anymore. One called the Syria Mosque. It's just wonderful. Frank Zappa did a couple live recordings there, and the best one though was the Stanley Theater. And this one, I mean, Elvis played there, and Red Skelton, and the Three Stooges, and I mean, this is like decades and decades of history. So that part of what I do, I really enjoy. I teach music and pop culture history as well. The lives of the great composers. In fact, when I do my jam night, while a band's setting up, we do musical trivia and history and say, name 3 bands that Paul Rogers was in, that kind of stuff. I'm sure you can. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Have you ever met some of your idols being you've become this big band and was touring around and stuff? Did you get to meet people that you've always wanted to meet as far as guitar players and stuff like that?
Yeah, I met Stevie Ray Vaughan in Austin before he made it, and then I met him again after he made it, which is really cool. A really, really sweet guy. And we did a show at the aforementioned Lincoln Park with Denny Lane. He was the original singer in the Moody Blues, sang Go Now. Then he played with Paul McCartney. We did a show with him, and that was quite a thrill. And Yeah, we've met a lot of famous people, some famous athletes, and uh, 99 out of 100 times they're really nice people. Yeah, there's a few exceptions. We're not going to mention Tom Scholes from Boston. Yeah, he was arrogant. But that was about it, though. Everybody else was always really encouraging. It's beautiful.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we go here?
Just please look me up and my Thursday night jam at Mario's Dockside. That's in Bridgewater. Is it's great because on any given night, we have. There's a friend we grew up with that works with Arnold Schwarzenegger. She's like a movie veteran. She was there last week. Or sometime if anybody's traveling through town, we'll have some famous people jump up with us. But on a more constant level, though, there are great young, talented people every week, and they show up and they get better and better, and you get to watch them grow. And it's nice to sit and have a drink. I'm hoping to be like Les Paul, who just kept playing until he was 90, I think 90 plus years old. And he had his Monday night show he did at Christopher's. My brother Joey went, and he said, he went over and he's standing at the bar having a beer, and you could go over and shake Les Paul's hand. That's the way to go, okay? Not shoot your brains out at 27, not OD, or even worse, are just guys that just get so disillusioned they don't even play anymore. So that's probably my message to leave on is, man, there's so many aspects of music that you can make a living besides being a rock star. When we were young, it was like, man, cover a Rolling Stone or we failed. And, struggled with that for years. And we've always done well. We've always made money and been popular. Never sold 1,000,000 records is the only thing we haven't done. So I'd love to, but if I don't think, I feel very successful. The fact that I'm still doing it and I still love it and I haven't sold any of my equipment. I have all my guitars. I've never sold a guitar. It's great. Therefore, I've got probably about between 30 and 50 guitars.